The matchup for Super Bowl 60 is set. It will be Seahawks versus Patriots, a rematch of Super Bowl 49, one of the greatest championship games ever. It's been such an odd 2025 NFL season. In this video, I'm going to talk about just the conference championship matchups and the fallout of those, and I'll do a big Super Bowl preview next week. Let's start with the one that needs very little recap. The Patriots went into Denver and came out with a 10-7 win. A snowstorm descended upon Mile High in the second half and rendered both offenses pretty much useless. After a promising start from Denver, the Patriots' lone touchdown came as a result of Jarrett Stidham panicking and tossing the ball backwards mid-sack, handing the Patriots a 12-yard drive to the end zone. The most talked about point of the game was Sean Payton's decision to go for it on 4th and 1 when he could have made it a 10-point game and got stuffed. Hindsight is 20/20 on these things, so it's important, if you want your opinion to be valid, to remember how you felt about the decision in the moment before the ball was snapped. This was my thought process. Against the run, the Patriots lived in the backfield the entire game. If you pass, you're trusting Jarrett Stidham to get this first down. So yeah, I would have kicked that field goal, especially since the Broncos defense was giving May and the Patriots absolutely nothing. This brings about the other big talking point post-game. Drake May has looked awful in the playoffs. Granted, he's faced 3 great defenses, but this run to the Super Bowl should have been Drake dealing himself in as one of the elites in the league. At the beginning of the playoffs, that seemed like the only possible path for New England to get to the Super Bowl, and yet here I sit, Patriots bound for Santa Clara, unsure of how good they actually are. In fairness, if Drake plays well in the Super Bowl, none of this talk about his playoff performances will matter at all. And I've seen bad runs to the Super Bowl. I think Jimmy Garoppolo threw for 200 total yards to get there in 2019. It's not necessarily a scathing indictment. I think we all just want to see one of the best young players in the league prove himself in the biggest games. I really don't want it to seem like I'm taking away from the Patriots. Am I a little mad that they're back in the Super Bowl after terrorizing the NFL for 20 years? Yeah, you bet. But they deserve to be back relative to the competition in the AFC this season. However, not only did they play the easiest schedule in the league this year, but their playoff opponents had, in order, their top 2 tackles out, their top 2 receivers out, and finally their quarterback out. There was no moment in this playoff run where New England really felt like they proved themselves to be a contender. From the Brady-Belichick days through the Mahomes era, the AFC playoffs have been a proving ground, where to be the best, you have to beat the best. It wasn't that this year, but such is life in the NFL. These things happen. Congratulations to the Patriots. What a coaching job by Mike Vrabel. The Broncos, I really wasn't buying them for pretty much this entire year, but in fairness, I don't really get the satisfaction of a victory lap after how the season's ended for them. The football gods screwed them on this one. No two ways about it. Stidham had the nice throw to Mims early on and the touchdown to Sutton that had things feeling good early, but it was dead after that. I don't hold any of it against him. It is what it is. If you're a Broncos fan, you're looking forward to the future, but I wonder about that future. This team has the Dan Campbell "we might never make it back here" quote written all over it. They were the one-score game kings this year, which pretty much always spells regression the next season. Obviously, we're still not sure about Bo Nix. I'm certainly not. His best pass catcher is Sutton, who is 30. The defense is full of veterans and might lose Vance Joseph, and of course, I'd be shocked if 3 of the big 4 in the AFC missed the playoffs entirely again next year. This, to me, was the year to get them, and they came up 3 points short. Condolences, Denver. Okay, thank God. That's done. The NFC Championship game, an absolute classic. Seahawks pull off the win over the Rams, 31-27. My sentiment the whole week was this game was the real Super Bowl, and I'll tell you right now, my early feeling on the big game is a comfortable Seahawks win, but I'll make my official prediction next week. Anyway, this was an incredible game. Darnold played the best game I've seen him play, given the circumstances. Clint Kubiak deserves a ton of credit for not trying to hide or protect Darnold after his first 2 games against LA were awful. Smith-Njigba was obviously otherworldly. I think he and Puka Nacua have both dealt themselves into the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson class of receivers. If you don't understand why the Seahawks were shopping Tariq Woolen this season, now you certainly know, as he consecutively broke up a pass to get a 3rd down stop, got flagged for taunting the Rams bench, which is still the worst flag in the sport, and immediately gave up a long touchdown to Nacua. Stafford once again played a near-flawless game against the best defense in the conference, getting big games out of both Puka and Devontae Adams, who has now lost a 5th NFC Championship game. This game came down to the Seahawks standing tall and turning over the Rams on downs with about 5 minutes to go, and never giving the ball back. Poor timeout management is becoming a staple of Sean McVay's game, It's very common for these play caller head coaches to call timeouts to make sure they get the right play in, and I totally get that. But McVay calling a timeout to potentially challenge and lose another timeout via the challenge, but then withdrawing the challenge was baffling to me. He burned all his timeouts on the front side of the 2-minute warning, just like the Detroit game 2 years ago, and in the end never got a real shot at a game-winning drive. But Seattle deserves the most credit for that. In the run-the-clock-out situations, we so often see teams run it twice and then pray they can convert a third down to put the game on ice. Kubiak trusted Darnold to throw on early downs and knew his receivers would get the better of the Rams' defensive backs. Fair enough. Also, I have very little sympathy for teams losing games on defensive holding calls. It was an incredible game where the Seahawks offense had to be money from start to finish with how Stafford torched them, and they absolutely were. They got the big stop the Rams couldn't, and of course, as I predicted, the Rams had a brutal special teams error on a muffed punt that immediately led to a Seahawks touchdown. It was the most predictable thing in the world and might have been the difference in the game. It amazes me how well coached the Rams are on offense and defense, and yet so inept in the third phase for so long. It's obviously going to kill you. The Rams offseason will be fascinating. They have a roster in an incredible spot and 2 first-round picks, one of which I imagine will be a cornerback. But this was undeniably a missed opportunity, especially with Stafford's future up in the air. This was, to me, at its best, the best version of Sean McVay's Rams. He's coached some unreal teams, specifically in 2018 and 2021, but this group, again at its best, stood out. Stafford at his absolute peak this season, 2 great receivers, 3 really good tight ends, and even Blake Corum took a big step this year to provide depth at running back. It was such a deep and malleable offense they could create matchup nightmares out of 13 personnel the entire season, and then at the flip of a switch could change it and go 11 and 12 personnel against Chicago. And on defense, while they didn't have an Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey like in past years, this was still an excellent group, especially up front, with their real weakness being at cornerback. Ultimately, that did them in. In 2018, the offense was electric, but they were clearly limited by who Jared Goff was at the time. Plus, Todd Gurley got injured down the stretch of that season, and it was never really the same. And of course, the fashion in which they made the Super Bowl was dubious at best. In 2021, the team was inconsistent throughout the season, but fully put it together in their run through the playoffs, just escaping the Bucs and Niners. This year's team seemed at the very least on the level of those teams, certainly relative to this year's NFC field. Going back to Stafford, I think he'll come back. I think he'll win the MVP, and I just can't imagine someone knowing that they can contend next year and playing the best ball of his life right now at age 37, not wanting to come back. Obviously, his injury history is a little more extensive than Brady and Rodgers, but he's showing that level of longevity. Without the early career success, of course, but if there's one thing we know for sure, it's that he can still rip it. Again, there's precedent for QBs going out on top, but none for going out right at their peak, and that's what Stafford is at in a championship window as well. This Rams team was dominant at its best, but the loss to Seattle in Week 16, along with the losses to Carolina and Atlanta, were a sign that there were cracks in the foundation, and they got exposed again. I think that Cup first down debacle and special teams mistake will probably haunt this team for a long time. As for the Seahawks, they're heading to their 4th Super Bowl and trying to win their 2nd, and you really can't help but be happy for Sam Darnold, all he's been through, and the game he put together this weekend. Despite being the 3rd overall pick, I guess it's kind of an underdog story, considering his NFL journey. It's really something that he's the first quarterback from the 2018 draft class to get to the Super Bowl. This is a class with Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, and of course Josh Rosen. But if you remember that draft, it was a shock that Baker went 1st overall because Darnold was the most highly touted prospect. Obviously, Allen and Lamar have turned into the best players of the class, but Darnold has earned his mention, and it's cool to see him find a home. He seems like a great dude, too. I've been thinking about where these Seahawks stack up to past NFC winners, since the NFC pretty much always has a great winner with a loaded roster, but it's different every year. I don't think they'd be better than the 24 Eagles, 23 Niners, 22 Eagles, but they might be better than 21 Rams. Anyway, that's just a thought. Obviously, we have to give mention to Mike Macdonald, who has done such an amazing job in his 2 years in Seattle. His defense didn't have the best day, but they are incredible. I would also imagine Clint Kubiak will be a head coach in a few weeks. I'll have a Super Bowl preview ready next week, and maybe something in between that. Until then, thanks for tuning in all NFL season. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe to Backman Sports as well while you're at it, and I'll see you soon.